As a Norris fan, you must have been tingling over the weekend watching him just absolutely blitz Piastri.
It makes the championship race even more exciting.
That they are so evenly matched right now. So 2026 is looking interesting, wouldn't you say?
If he knows historically that's the way it's treated, then why wouldn't you bend the rules in your advantage?
He tries to follow the tiniest possible footpath.
Can we just pause on that? That's a bike track.
It's so entitled. It just grinds my gears so much.
Absolutely have to give that place back. No, I can't go there with you, Jace. I'm hurt. I'm deeply hurt. The most hectic race. I don't know. I feel like we say this every time there's a really good race because there's been a few quite dull races this season, but that was not a dull race.
I forget how fun the Mexico City Grand Prix can be. Every year this happens to me, and I think, ho hum, here comes Mexico. But actually, the race delivered, and then some. Oh man, what a performance from Norris!
Yeah.
Are there words to describe just how solid he was this weekend? What a superlative performance, as Murray Walker would have said.
Norris is coming home. He's chosen the right moment in the season to find his edge, to find his confidence. Yeah, I mean, game on. 1 point between them now.
You know what he says?
What does he say?
I don't need FP1. You can have it.
Yeah,
Take it. I don't need it. It's all good.
How about I lay down 3 purple sectors in in the third session and qualifying? Yeah, that was a masterclass.
It was brilliant. And the thing that I like about that is sometimes in a quali session, the fastest lap in a session doesn't necessarily mean like the optimal in the purple sector for each. You can actually go less than purple in one sector but make up for it in the other two. But in that quali session, Norris was he was on it. There's something about that. My read on this is that there's a setup thing that they've done on Norris's car that they haven't, or they've done differently on Piastri. Because when I looked at some of the onboards, it looked like Norris just drove over the curbs like they weren't there. He didn't care. He took them. They didn't unsettle the car, and he had the confidence and he had the performance, but he also had the car underneath him. Whereas the contrast to that was Piastri was more nervous around those same curbs, especially turn 2, turn 3, and it just made all the difference. You know, if you have that car that's going to give you a wobble when you go through that chicane, you're going to approach it differently, and you're going to get slower lap time as a result.
Yeah, it's I mean, I haven't read any confirmation of a meaningfully different setup. You may be absolutely right on that. I also just wonder if on certain tracks, different drivers, through all their time on the sim and through all their time practicing, just have very different approaches. So it could equally be just a very different approach to the track, which makes this championship battle, if that's the case and it's not just a setup thing, it makes the championship race even more exciting because it really is, a comparable car and a different way of approaching a track. It might have been that the data that Piastri got was that actually taking those curbs so full on wasn't the quickest way around it. And that's more exciting to me, but you may be right. It may just be that Oscar's side of the garage got the car right. Either way, it was dominant. It was absolutely dominant. And now we've got 1 point between Oscar and Norris. We nearly had 1 point the other way, and we can dig into that in a little bit about that kind of final safety car, virtual safety car, and what happened there. But game on. And also kind of interesting around the Max stuff, kind of so dominant for the last 3 or 4 races. But the car definitely wasn't underneath Max this race, so he's got a bit of work to do. I think the odds of him winning the championship now have decreased dramatically off the back of that. You can't put it past him. I don't know if you got the stats, Jace. You normally got the stats on what Max would need to do now to still win. But
I think it's 9 points. It's gone up by 1.
Gone up by 1
round.
Okay.
Yeah, so
9
it's
points. Yeah,
still there. 36 points is the difference between P1 and P3 in the Drivers' Championship. But we are living in the best timeline. We have an unbelievable season unfolding in front of us, and we have a new Drivers' Championship leader, and we've got 2 other contenders that are still in the fight. Piastri's having a wobble. Max is coming through. Norris has finally got one hand back on the trophy again. This is just an amazing season. What a time to be alive. Can you, I mean, you must be tingling as a Norris, shall I say fan? As a
you
Norris
can
fan?
say you can say fan. You can say
live
fan.
live your fandom, Gab.
Live my my
As a
fantasy.
Norris fan, you must have been tingling over the weekend watching him just absolutely blitz Piastri in every session and then win so comfortably. I mean, what a feeling that must have been.
Well, I mean, as a Lando fan, all I can tell you is that this weekend for me was deeply stressful, deeply traumatic, and there was just so much PTSD from all the times that Lando has had it in the bag and then dropped it in Q3, or has been on the front row and then had a terrible start, or has been on the front row and then kind of clashed with someone, or has kind of been alongside someone and put it in the wall. Like there's been so many fumbles from Lando this season, and actually the last season as well, that I think everything in me is now kind of expecting my hopes to be dashed for him to actually just do a race like this. And I think it's so important for him to do a race like this for his confidence. I mean, did you see how he got off the line? It was so funny because the commentators were saying, oh, they got an equal start. Lando just got such a good start off the line, and that, for him to nail his start off the line, shows such a development in his racecraft.
When you think about how long it is from the starting from that first position on the pole position
So long.
right down to the first turn, it's ridiculous. It's such a
Yeah.
long straight compared to other tracks where it's maybe 2 to 500 meters. So to be going first and punching a hole through the air and dragging along everyone behind you, and to be able to still reach turn one in the lead, even if it's only just in the lead, it's indicative of some, yeah, a really great start and a good first phase getting off the line. I think we saw this weekend a confirmation of a theory that I put out last time, which is that Piastri doesn't do well in the pack, and a new theory, which I'm gonna say, and I think you'll agree, is I think Norris has figured out his lap one jitters. That's been one of his Achilles' heels, is that he might be on pole position, but he's not in the lead at the end of the first lap. I think he's kind of put that in the past. He's figured that out. He's no longer bad start Lando, although he was never called that. But you know what I mean. He seems to have sorted out that aspect of his racing,
Yeah.
which is great, and the timing of it couldn't be better because we've got 4 rounds remaining, and it's so close. And Piastri could be back on form in Brazil.
Absolutely.
Max,
Absolutely.
I mean, Max won from 17th on the grid last time round in Brazil, so he could be right on top. And if Max comes back and claims 8 points or more from winning the next round, game on. Again, you said game on last time round. I mean, it's just game on from here till the end of the season, pretty much, isn't it?
Absolutely. It really is. Do you know what I was thinking at the end of quali? I was like, I'm so glad it's not Lando with Max behind him. Like, I was so relieved for Lando's sake to have the gentleman that is Charles Leclerc. Although he wasn't too gentlemanly on that
No, he
first
was
lap,
not.
which is really interesting. But if you're going to have someone behind you on lap one, you want Charles. You don't want. You probably actually don't want Lewis. I don't know if you heard what Lewis said in the pre-race interviews, but he said something on the lines of, you know, I've got nothing to lose. Lando's got a lot to lose. And I was like, shut up. I love you, Lewis, but don't don't mess this up. You can't
Not
mess
now.
this
Not
up. Not
now.
now. Not yeah. You really don't have anything to lose, Lewis. You've had a terrible year. Um, but yeah, I mean, gosh, can we talk a little bit about Lewis's race? I mean, this was his highest start in his first year. We're coming to the end of the year. This was Lewis Hamilton's highest qualifying result of his time with Ferrari. P3, like, sure, we know Charles is quicker than him at the moment, maybe more comfortable with machinery, maybe more suited to the team. But we've seen kind of Hamilton kind of claw his way back to being a relevant driver for Ferrari. Poor guy starts P3, poor guy finishes P8. What went wrong, Jace, for our golden boy, our beloved OG, greatest of all time, robbed, a few years ago? What happened for Hamilton?
Well, speaking of a few years ago, 2021, I was wondering if Lewis was having flashbacks to 2021, the Mexico City
Totally,
Grand Prix,
totally.
when when Bottas defended against him and Max just drove around the outside, clear into the lead on lap one. That was hilarious seeing that happen again. As you say, Lewis had an amazing weekend relative to the rest of his season,
Yeah,
and he was really strong. Actually, if you look at the lap times comparing Leclerc and Hamilton over the whole weekend, there's barely anything between them. That they are so evenly matched right now. So 2026 is looking interesting, wouldn't you say?
yeah.
But as they were going through turn one, and I think we've got to linger a little bit on turn one, turn two, turn three on lap one, and I've got a bit of a bugbear about penalties on lap one, so we'll come back to that. But Leclerc pinched Hamilton to the inside, so Hamilton wasn't able to make the most of his start, and Leclerc and Verstappen both cut the chicane, so they just go off, and who cares? You can just do that in modern Formula One, it seems.
Apparently so.
And they didn't, they didn't give any of the places back. They didn't do any of that except Leclerc let Norris get through. Fast forward a couple of laps, and Hamilton's got in front of Verstappen. Verstappen absolutely sends it from the next postcode into turn one, completely out of nowhere, comes back and bangs wheels with Hamilton, knocks him off the track, and then does it again going into turn two. And going into turn four, Hamilton has to go off the track. So he's pushed off the track, he's onto the grass, he tries to follow, the race director's instructions and follow the tiniest possible footpath to get back to the track on the other side.
Can we just pause on that? I That's a bike track. That is that is a cyclist track. Guys, there is the track that he's meant to follow back on is honestly, I swear the whole car wouldn't fit on it. Anyway, carry on, Jason. So he kind of does a bit of it, and then he just takes a bit of grass,
Going at speed and on grass. So how are you meant to possibly make that happen? I mean, it's absurd, absolutely absurd. So Hamilton comes back on track. Where was I? So he comes back on track, and then he carries on. They said in the commentary during the race that he should have slowed down to let the others catch back up to him. And maybe that would have been the good thing to do because he got a 10-second penalty for driving off track and gaining a lasting advantage. So instead of being right up the front, battling with Leclerc, battling with Verstappen, nowhere near Norris, of course, he gets himself a 10-second penalty to be served at his pit stop. And that puts him out behind Stroll practically, right towards the rear of the middle. Horrible thing for him to suffer and sit there. Can you imagine? You're a race car driver, you've got adrenaline pumping, you're in this incredible piece of machinery, and you come into the pits and you stop and you just have to wait those 10 seconds out. Nothing's happening. Cars are whizzing by you on that start finish straight, and all you can do is wait for that 10 seconds to count down before you can put the new tires on your car and go out again. I can't imagine how painful that must be for Hamilton. What do you think about all the penalties? I think the penalties are worth lingering on a little bit. It seemed like the FIA just kind of threw the rulebook out this weekend. What do you make of them?
Yeah, I mean, I have to say with the Hamilton penalty, I think that was just so over the top. Like we said, the path to re-enter the track was really difficult. I don't know if, I mean, do you think they gave him the penalty for not? No, actually, in fact, I know the answer to that. They didn't give him a penalty. So there was two things raised. Did he follow the race director's instructions by staying on the path? No. Did they give him a penalty for that? No. So fair enough. They gave him a penalty for gaining an advantage by going off the track. I think when you're forced off the track, what was he for?
Yes,
I don't know. He locked up. He wasn't in control of the car.
Okay. Fair.
I had to watch it a few times, and I'm like, I think the problem is for me the way that
We're a
Max.
little bit biased, you could say.
No,
Just a little bit biased.
no, I think the way that when you take a decision like this into hand, you have to look what is kind of happening, kind of on a macro scale. And actually, Max kind of shut the door on him and forced him off track just before that. So, like, the racing was really hard. And then he was just trying to come back at that and went off track. I think if you weigh those two things, I think the way Max was driving was very on the edge. Like, I think I'm enjoying Max's driving more. But I don't think he had a right to force Lewis off the track. So I think you just kind of, as a race director, look at it and go, look, that wasn't great what Max did. It wasn't great that Lewis kind of got a bit of an advantage by going off. Let's call it 50-50. But they didn't. They gave him not 5 seconds, but 10 seconds. Had it been 5 seconds, this would have been a very different race. So I think that was a strong penalty.
So, all right, let's. Can I go on my soapbox now for a minute? Because
Yeah, please.
You're absolutely right. So I think we should do away with this bogus leniency on lap one business.
Well, and just everyone gets penalties if they do the wrong thing. Everyone does.
So if you do a handball in the first minute of a soccer game, what happens? Do they just say, he's just warming up?
He's just warming up, yeah.
This is the busy time of the game. Surely that's okay. Take any other sport where there are rules that are clearly stated. Where do you see another sport where they just wave away the first little part of that game? It's not like you get a grace period in the first 2 minutes of a soccer game.
I completely agree. And on turn one, you had Hamilton, Leclerc, and Max on the outside, a bit like America last week. 3 into 1 is never going to fit. Max knows 3 into 1's not going to fit. Max isn't in control of his car. He can't slow it down. He goes across the grass, right? Whereas everyone else has to take that chicane. Like, everyone has to do those 2 corners in the pack. Like, that's the most unfair thing about Max getting away with that and Lewis not, is that Max just got the pleasure of avoiding wheel-to-wheel racing for 2 corners while everyone else had to survive it. So, no, it's not fair.
Yeah, I agree. I so agree. And Leclerc was a beneficiary of this as well. He went off, cut that chicane.
Yeah.
And so Leclerc gave the position back to Norris, but what about the people who were behind that also didn't go off track? So I just think lap one shouldn't have this bizarre grace period, this leniency of the rules don't matter because it's first lap. I think if the rules were applied consistently throughout the entire race, they would be more better behaved in turn one of lap one.
And this is exactly what I said to my partner as we were sitting watching the race. I was like, the genius of Max is that he knows the rules so well. He knows exactly what he can do. And I'm not like, I've got no problem with that. Like, if he knows historically that's the way it's treated, then why wouldn't you bend the rules in your advantage? But he knows that he can do that on lap one. He knows he can't do that on lap 6, as we found out with Lewis, because Lewis was lap 6 that he did it. But he knows he can do it on lap 1. So I think, it's worth it. It makes me think, why do they do it? Is it because they really don't want a turn 1 or turn 2 incident? So they want to give people the opportunity to get out of Dodge if they have to, rather than a massive pile up. Do you think that's the thinking? Like, give them some leniency, let them feel like they can take an escape route if they need to, because what we don't want is this race to end as soon as it started. Do you think that's the thing? Because there must be some thinking behind it, right?
That's a huge assumption, Gav. That's the FIA we're talking about. I think they might be worried about the blowback that would happen if the race was fully determined by penalties.
Right.
So if everyone gets a 10-second penalty for cutting the first chicane, then maybe that deteriorates the quality of the race, or it diminishes the race in some way. But I just think having this bogus situation where a driver can cut turn 1, turn 2 with no repercussions, it's too far. We need to clamp down on this. I think it's not okay that we've got this kind of bogus behavior.
Okay, I'm just sending a quick email now. Because I actually know someone at the FIA. Um,
Don't
sh-
tell them what I said about them.
she's fairly senior. I'm actually going to send it. I'm actually going to send it from your email address if that's all right. Thanks for lending
Sweet.
me the login the other day.
Spooked me,
Um,
bro.
yeah, but there was some pretty amazing, like we've talked a bit about about some interesting penalties and some ideas of equality and fairness. But oh my gosh, you're so right, Jace. It was such an exciting race, and there were some incredible drives. Not least Haas getting its highest team position in a race of all time. So we have Lewis on one hand getting his highest qualifying position and losing it, and then we have Haas getting what did Ollie Bearman start at in the race, mate?
He started
Ollie Bearman.
P9.
He started P10. Started P10.
P10. Let's call it
P10.
P10.
So Ollie Bearman in Haas starts. You know, if you're in Haas, you're so grateful. You're so grateful to be in Q3 at all, and you don't mind being P10 in Q3. You're just so happy to be there. You're like the 16-year-old invited to a 21-year-old's birthday party. Like you're just like, I can't believe I'm here. They're
I'm
all
gonna get
smoking
so
weed.
drunk.
Someone's just handed me a beer. This is so cool. So Bearman's already won by being P10 in Q3. What happens next, Jace? What happens to Ollie Bearman?
I don't remember. You're like gonna have to remind me. I was so distracted by that thought of a 16-year-old at a birthday party.
I'll tell you
Please
what.
help me.
He takes advantage of the mayhem. Nothing in life is for free. He takes advantage of the mayhem at the beginning, and he gets himself up into P4, and he holds it for pretty much the whole race. It's unbelievable. In fact, I think he got himself up into P3 at one point.
For a time.
For a time.
And then Haas pitted him. And then
Yeah.
he said, "Why?" And so that put him behind Verstappen. But then he was able to hold P4, which I mean is a phenomenal achievement for Haas. Do you remember the very first season of Drive to Survive featured the race in Australia where Haas messed up two pit stops, which
Yes.
resulted in retirements for both their drivers, for
Yeah.
Magnussen and for Grosjean?
Yeah.
So the whole time I was thinking, they're stopping him again? Do they really want to risk this kind of behavior? No, so they're operationally much better than they used to be, which is awesome. And the car performance was good. Even Ocon, he was doing well as well on the weekend. So for Haas to have that kind of result is phenomenal. For them to get those points, to jump up, they're now P8 in the Constructors' Championship, which is amazing. It's great. And to see him, it's his rookie season. I don't know. I see him in a red jumpsuit in the years to come. I see him fully on that path. Maybe it's a matter of replacing Leclerc when he ultimately moves on to Mercedes.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ollie Bearman, what a way to show us what he's made of. Phenomenal.
That's the kind of drive, if you're Ollie Bearman, that we talk a lot about confidence, don't we? And what kind of, just like what this has done for Lando this weekend and what it does when you finally get to show your quality. But in a machine that just really isn't competitive against the top four, this certainly has to solidify something in him. That's like, I'm made for more than this. Like I can hold my own. I can have Oscar Piastri with arguably one of the quickest cars on the track behind me, and I can hold him for I don't know how many laps at the end before the. I mean, it was such a strong drive. Such a strong drive.
Yeah, and actually, you say not competitive with the top four teams. Looking at the lap times,
Well, it was
Verstappen and Bearman,
yeah.
they were comparable. They were doing similar lap times. Verstappen had a phenomenal start to his second stint. Phenomenal. He was a second lap faster. But if you average it out over the whole race, Bearman and Verstappen, they were neck and neck pretty much. So I mean, it's a huge performance for him. Yeah, really exciting to see the rookies kind of stepping up and doing what they set out and what they've been dreaming of doing. Another rookie with a great performance this weekend was Bortoleto.
Yep.
I mean, coming into his home race next round in Brazil, he's on a high. He just had such a knockout weekend. It didn't help that Hulkenberg had to retire from the race. But Bortoleto was faster, and he pulled off a pretty awesome overtake on Hadjar,
Hadjar, yeah,
his old F2 rival.
yeah.
That was hard racing, fair racing, and impressive for him. To see him do so well. Hadjar not quite as good, but
What
still
can I
better than
ask
his
you?
teammate.
I know that you look at you look at the strategy side of things quite a lot. Could you give us some insight onto what was happening with Hadjar this race? Because it felt like something was it the car, was it the strategy? It felt like they left him out forever, and he was just again my partner. The dialogue between my partners are always interesting as we're watching. And she was just saying like he's just getting overtaken. Why aren't they pitting him? Any insights into why they left him out so long?
Good question. Well, he had a spin early on. On lap one, he had a spin, and he
Yeah,
started
but
on the medium tire, so he
do you
was
think?
right at the back. So I
Yeah,
think they just thought maybe it was a similar kind of bad strategy move compared to the Williams with Albon, thinking maybe a safety car will be out at some
yeah.
point.
I
If we
think
go long on the first stint, then we can come out on the faster, softer tire in the second stint. Maybe we'll benefit from the safety car, that kind of thing. That might have been it. Also, they didn't have Lawson as a comparison point because Lawson retired on lap three or lap four. So, one of the things that's so important for teams because they're all so closely matched. We talk about major differences between team one and team two, but actually the whole grid is fairly evenly matched relative to the history of the sport, F1. But when one driver has to retire, say Alonso or Hulkenberg or Lawson, when one driver has to retire, the team loses a lot of key information that the
yeah,
other driver could use.
yeah. It loses 50% of data, just gone.
Yeah, and so Lawson could have done some, switched onto a different tire to see what the deg would be for his car, and that would inform what was happening with Hadjar. But Hadjar, yeah, he had a bad race. Had a good weekend up until the race, and then a spin on lap one. Yeah, I just think it wasn't working for him. I'm not sure what else to say. Can we talk a little bit about bad weekends though with Carlos Sainz? Carlos, oh my God, he had a 5 grid penalty coming in from the last round in the US Grand Prix when he went into the side of Antonelli,
Oh, Carlos.
which is unfortunate, I think, because his race ended and then he got a grid drop penalty for the next round, so that sucks for him. So Carlos comes in, he has a decent qualifying. He qualifies 12th, I think.
Seventh
Seventh. Oh, seventh plus the 5 place
plus the
grid drop.
five.
Yeah, thanks for helping me with that maths. And then on lap
That's. Can
one,
we just say that's brutal for a
that is
Williams
brutal.
for a Williams to qualify seventh and then just have to suck up 12th because 12th is where they should be, but seventh. Anyway, carry on.
And funnily enough, Albon qualified 17th. So they kind of, it all works out if you add the math. So on lap one, he collides, I think, with Hadjar. Or, no, it was Lawson. That's why Lawson retired. Sainz collides with Lawson. It ruins his front left wheel. So his car is vibrating for the whole rest of the race, which he just has to suck up and deal with. And then he comes in for his pit stop. And because the wheel is damaged, his pit limiter isn't working properly. So his car is kind of kangaroo hopping down the pit lane. And on the way in, he manages to keep it under the speed limit. But then as he's coming out of his box, he goes up, 20 kilometers past his speed limit, the pit lane speed limit. And so he gets a penalty as a result of this.
So brutal.
Oh my God. And the penalty for speeding in the pit lane is a drive-through penalty.
Yeah.
I mean, that's some Machiavellian stuff right there. You get a penalty that makes you do the thing that you couldn't do because of the damage that he had on the car. And as he was doing his drive-through penalty, you could see he was just being so gentle on the throttle, thinking, I've got to stay under that limit. I've got to stay under that limit. And then he spins. He spins in the stadium section, so he can't even finish the race, despite having a wobbly car throughout the entire race, having more penalty points than you can imagine. And then, just to really put the icing on the cake, they tell him to stop the car as he's spun, and he's on his way to a spot where there's a gap in the fence where he could put the car fully out of harm's way so the race could continue. And he kind of half parks the car in the garage.
Yeah.
And so there's a virtual safety car that they decide to throw out as a result. Carlos was the agent of chaos this weekend. Some of
I
it was
just,
chaos magnet, and some of it was of his own accord. Unbelievable.
yeah, I feel like when it rains, it really pours with Carlos these days. It's just really, every time you think, just as you feel like he's coming back into like a nice kind of spot, he has a race like this. And yeah, virtually none of that is his fault. Although his grid penalty was. Um, but what that virtual safety car gave us was a really interesting setup, right? Because we had a couple of drivers who really probably should have been passed in the final few laps. We had Max Verstappen behind Charles Leclerc, and we had Oscar Piastri behind Ollie Bearman, and both were on both of their tails and were in absolute striking distance. Would they have got past? Maybe. I actually think it would have been more likely that Max got past Charles than Piastri past Bearman, because I think Bearman was defending really well. But oh my gosh, if you are Bearman or Charles Leclerc, getting given that safety car, that virtual safety car, would have just been the most beautiful thing in the world. How long did they have to race when it went off? Like one lap? Not even a lap. Half a lap.
For some,
Half a
depending on
lap.
where they were on the circuit, some of them had a
About
whole lap, some of them had a
had
lap and a
half.
bit, some of
Yeah.
them had half a lap.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing about the virtual safety car is that it can end with not that much notice.
Yeah.
And
It just
so
it just ended. Not even the commentators. They're just like they're chatting away. They're like, when you hear, oh, it's ended. It must be exactly the same for the drivers.
yeah. And I think this is a good example where Max and his race engineer Giampiero Lambiase, they have some kind of telekinesis or sort of telepathy connection between them. They are so on it, and so Max actually was able to close up quite a lot on the back of Leclerc, but Leclerc's race engineer and Leclerc, they don't have that kind of mind meld thing happening. You kind of see it all the time with the Ferrari strategy, sort of the memes of we're checking. Like, is the virtual safety car ending? We're checking. We'll come back to you. They don't have it. They're not on top of these sorts of things. So Verstappen has a bit of an advantage there, and he did close up really close to Leclerc and almost managed to get him. But I think with Piastri it was like a bridge too far. He just didn't have enough of a pace difference between him and Bearman, so it wasn't likely to happen. And actually, when you looked at the virtual safety car ending, Piastri didn't get his timing right, and so whereas Verstappen managed to close up within DRS range at the end of the virtual safety car period, Piastri dropped back by about 8 tenths. So he didn't manage to get the benefit of that. But you know what? What blows me away about the virtual safety car with this is because I sometimes watch the endurance racing. What they have in endurance racing is they have radio communications to all the drivers.
Yeah.
So there's a centralized race control, and he says a message out to all the drivers, and there's a thing that goes out like virtual safety car ending in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, green flag. But in F1, it's FIA communicating to the teams, and then the teams communicating to the drivers. And then there's a thing that shows up on the dash. So there's a huge amount of variation between race engineer noticing something, communicating it via the radio, driver hearing it, and making the loud pedal go loud. It's like, why? Why do we have this inefficient, bonkers way of introducing this variation across the grid? It's unfair. It's fundamentally unfair compared
There's
to the other disciplines.
And as we've talked about, there is so much unfair about F1. It might be the most unfair sport that ever existed.
Oh. But you know who thought it was really unfair this
Yeah.
weekend?
Yeah.
George Russell. He was an unhappy camper. Tell you what, I've never seen him whinge on the radio so much, so loudly than during the race this time around. And I think he did have a point, but my word, just stop, George. It's too much. Take a chill pill. What did you make of George's tirade on the radio?
I mean, the problem for George is he is eternally the moany teenager. And so it's a bit like crying wolf. when you hear his voice start to moan and complain, you just kind of want to bat it away like a fly. It's it's irritating, and that's why I would suggest to all F1 drivers, if you're going to moan about something, like only moan when like you have a really solid case to moan about it. Don't just always be moaning and complaining. Don't always be dobbing in other drivers. Don't be George. Guys, don't be George in life. Just life lessons. But
or like Alonso, be entertaining as you do it.
yeah,
You know,
just
add
just
a bit
be
of flavor to it.
just be really funny and just like have this kind of wild nonchalance and like kind of almost like, I don't know, he's like a bandit, isn't he? Just like, well, like, yeah.
I love that. Alonso is so the bandit.
He is the bandit.
Thank you. That's great.
Yeah.
I heard his radio message where he said, I guess the FIA were looking the other way when lap one, turn one happened. They just weren't watching.
It's actually genuinely comedic. But no, let's think about the George situation. He is saying that he is stuck behind his teammate Antonelli. He feels like he's a lot quicker, and he can feel Piastri, and he'll be getting information that Piastri is closing on him, and he wants to get off down the road, and he wants to get past Bearman, and he thinks he's got the pace to do it. Really tough situation because maybe Antonelli ahead of him, his teammate, is just managing his pace, and it actually suits him to have George as a buffer between him and Piastri. Maybe that's what Antonelli wants, and that's Antonelli's prerogative. Like, it's his right as an independent driver to maybe keep his teammate in DRS and create a buffer. I actually think probably George did have a bit of pace, and did pay the ultimate price for being stuck behind his teammate.
And he got stuck behind his teammate in the whole Verstappen-Hamilton off-track fiasco that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, so he already feels like this is all unfair.
He's bereaved.
Yeah.
You know, he lost out in that moment. Antonelli got past him, and throughout the weekend in the lead up to this, Russell was faster. He was considerably faster in the qualifying. He was, I don't know, 0.4 on average faster than Antonelli.
Well, there you go. So he is the quicker car.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He was on top of it this weekend, but he lost out. He got unlucky. It wasn't Antonelli's fault. It's not Antonelli's fault that Piastri's up his bumper. It's just
not
racing. It's what happens.
And if you remember the first message when he kind of said, "Look, I'm quicker, guys. Let me pass."
We're just compromising our races here.
Yeah,
we got a Haas up ahead. We could be fighting for the podium. It's so
but
entitled. It just grinds my gears so much.
yeah. He is just, the way your impression is right. He is just that guy. But his race engineer, the first response is like, "Overtake him, then, please," or like,
exactly.
You're free to overtake.
Do it,
so
mate.
If you are that quick, overtake him.
I've got so much pace.
Yeah.
Prove it.
Prove it. Prove it.
Oh, I really liked that response from the engineer, thinking, okay, good. I actually really hate team orders in F1. It's another bugbear that I've got. It really bothers me that teams can match fix, essentially, by getting their drivers to swap positions. I don't like that. And the response of, if you're quicker, overtake him, is the correct response. And then later on, they eventually did, but they'd wasted a bunch of laps on tyres, 5 laps on tyres. And I was actually glad that in the end, they swapped them back. Antonelli was in a position to be able to swap back. Because
well, George, let's just also pause here.
Go on.
George said, if I can't get past Bearman, then fine. Like, you know, and he couldn't get past Bearman, so it was like, there you go, buddy. Back behind Antonelli then. Do you know what I mean? He was... I don't think he'll make that mistake again, setting rules to him being able to keep... Like, that's a real mistake to make, saying... Being so desperate to get past, to be let past, to say, because I'll do that, and if I don't, then he can have it back. Well, maybe don't make promises you can't keep.
In this case, actually, I think George, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He was saying, give me a chance. And then if I can't, then I'll swap back. But what happens if he does swap with Antonelli and then Piastri overtakes Antonelli? And then later on, Russell isn't able to overtake Bearman, but there's Piastri between Russell and Antonelli. What's he going to do then? Oh, sorry. I couldn't because Piastri was in the way. Antonelli. I mean, if Antonelli is really faster, he should overtake Piastri. Then he should close up on me and overtake me in return. So I think on one hand, George was being generous, but on the other hand, he was being facetious and disingenuous and saying, "Hang on." My view on that was just do it on track. Stop, asking Daddy to sort of help you out and get past your teammate. And I was also really glad that Antonelli said, "I think we should invert the positions now." He that's an example of him maturing, growing, becoming more confident in his own ability and saying, "I should be put in front," and not just allowing the team leader to stay ahead on track. So I took that as a sign of maturity for Antonelli as well.
Yeah. Yep, I think so as well. I think, yeah, I mean, you just have to fight for what's yours, and it's interesting though because I feel like what you're arguing for is kind of a papaya rules kind of thing when you're saying that you don't want interference.
Yeah.
Although, oh no,
Yeah.
as soon as I said that, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, no, that's not what he's arguing for because that's all Papaya have done this year is tried to make it. But to be fair to them, they do let their drivers race. I think that's fair to say.
They do and they have, but they've also done things to try and make it fair between them. And I think
I'm all for fairness. I have to say, I love fairness.
I'm all for fairness too, but say for instance in Monza when Piastri pitted first to prevent the undercut from, I think it was Leclerc at the time, and then Norris pitted second, and Norris had a slow pit stop.
Yep.
The wheel gun just didn't work. They then asked them to invert the positions, and Piastri at the time said, "I thought we talked about this, and a slow pit stop was just a part of racing." So they are artificially asking them to invert positions. And that to me seems not fair. It's not fair to Norris to have a slow pit stop, but it's not Piastri's fault.
No, but what happened before that, Jace, was that they asked if they could protect Piastri, even though it was Lando's right to pit first. And I think Lando learnt a lesson that day, which is I can't afford to help my teammate in this way because that's what Lando did. He was like, as long as I won't be undercut. Now, being undercut could be, someone on quicker tires, but an undercut could also be, viewed as having a terrible pit stop by the same pit team. No, I completely disagree on that. I think that was one of the most pristine examples of when you absolutely have to give the place back to the driver who sacrificed their rightful undercut on their teammate because they had track position to help their teammate not get chased down. You absolutely have to give that place back. And I'm not a Lando fan at all. No, but come on. Is that not a compelling argument? He was helping Piastri out. And no, I can't go there with you, Jace. I'm hurt. I'm deeply hurt. I can't of all the examples.
Fine. We can agree to, I guess, coexist. That's
okay.
fine.
Okay.
But the good thing, I guess, with Lando is that he did learn from that experience. And a couple of rounds later at the US Grand Prix,
he said no.
He said, "Hell no, I'm not going to do that. Hell no, H2O."
In fact, what he said, if I remember, because I remember it so clearly, he was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "No, Lando." He's like, "Yeah, no."
Oh wait, no. Yeah, not this time. I played that game before and I didn't like the outcome, so I'm definitely not going to do that. I wonder, do you know this? I don't know this, so I'm just curious. Has Lando had a Grand Slam?
No.
He hasn't?
No.
Okay, interesting. I think I'll just pocket that as a curiosity to track throughout the rest of his career to see if he ever does get a Grand Slam. It's harder than it sounds. Max makes it look so easy. Ah, boy. Can I mention something I find really hilarious?
Go.
During the practice sessions,
Yeah.
one of the things that Bernie Collins likes to point out is that Aston Martin like to scrub a set of tyres. I don't know if you're familiar with this.
Yeah.
So scrubbing the tyres just means drive them around one lap.
Give them a
come
lap,
back
yeah.
in, give them
Yeah.
a lap. And I've never really understood what that is until I watched the onboard of Stroll and Alonso doing that this round. And what they do is they go reasonably quickly in a straight line, but they do not corner dramatically. They slow right down and they kind of really tentatively go through the turns because they
Okay.
don't want to ruin the tires. So that's their process. They scrub a set of tires. I was looking at the pit stops for Aston Martin this round. Both drivers went out and scrubbed 5 sets of tires each.
Why?
I have no idea. The start of both for FP3 for both Stroll and Alonso was basically just a supercut of them driving like grannies around this fast racetrack, and and they qualified P14 and P18.
Yeah.
It didn't even work. This whole tire scrubbing thing, because I think that's what they were doing them for. They were scrubbing the tires,
Yeah.
all mostly softs, in order for them to perform better in the qualifying, because those tires didn't get used in the race. So they just had this comedy thing of slow driving around racetracks like geriatricians, and for no benefit. It just
That's
blew me away.
that's nuts. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
another. I'll
can't
just
explain it.
shoot another email out to find out why they do that.
And I was thinking, how much do they pay these drivers to do this? The hourly rate of that tire scrubbing activity must have been through the roof.
Yeah, absolutely. That's such a good point. The cost. The should we,
Won't somebody think of the children?
dollar per scrub.
Yeah. And then it got me thinking, surely there's another way that they can do this other than literally going out and driving on track to prepare your tires.
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, there you go. Oh, man. Oh, one other curiosity that I've been tracking. There's one car on the grid that scored 0 points so far this season. Do you know which one it is?
One car.
Just one car. So that might give it away.
Colapinto.
Yes. So that car's been shared between Doohan and Colapinto. That's the only car on the grid that still has a 0 next to its points tally. It sucks. Alpine, they're having such a bad season. They've scored 20 points
I'm just so
for
used
the
to
whole
seeing.
season.
It's so savage. It's so savage.
And
they
Gasly's a good driver. He's not a back market driver at all. I mean, for
Do you-
those two,
do
it
you
must be
reckon-
so demoralizing.
Gasly must be looking for a way out.
But where does he go?
I don't know. He was probably ringing up Cadillac like for like weeks on end, just being like, help me. I can't. I just need. Honestly, I'm quite a good driver. What you don't understand, guys, is like looking at the stats. It looks like I'm not very good, but actually, I'm a really good driver who's just being crushed
Trust
in
me.
it. Yeah, I've got a tractor. If you can give me if you can just give me a Ford Fiesta, I'll go faster.
Oh, it was heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. I mean, I don't really like Alpine that much, but I like Gasly.
I like
Colapinto's
Gasly.
okay.
I like
Gasly's great.
Gasly. Give me Gasly over Ocon any day. Ocon, mate.
Hell yeah.
Ocon,
Totally agree.
Ocon got away, didn't he? From Alpine into like
Yeah.
a better team.
Yeah.
But talking about constructors, not that anyone really cares, because what we
No, I don't really
really
care.
care, we don't really care about it. But just in case Lando runs away with every single race now, and it gets boring for the final race, at least we've got, another narrative going on, which is the fact that Ferrari is now 1 point ahead. In fact, I wonder if there's ever been a time where 5 races to go in the season, the driver championship's led by 1 point, and the constructors championship is led by 1 point.
It's not led by 1 point. P2 to P3 is led by 1 point.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
You're discounting McLaren.
Yeah, I am, because it's already been won. So I'm just
Okay.
going.
So
But
what you're doing is what we did
you know what I'm
you're
saying.
doing is what we did in 2023 with Max.
Yeah,
You
well, we just
take
ignored Max.
out
Just
of it.
ignored Max. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
But 356 points to Ferrari and 355, and actually only 9 points behind is Red Bull. So we're saying it every podcast recently that fight for number 2 is very alive and well. after that, it drops off substantially to
Yes, but
William.
yes, but
Oh,
the
yeah,
gap between P7 and P9
9.
is
Very
also
fun.
very tight as well.
Very fun.
12, 11 points or so between
I
them.
think I'm just going to make that interesting. I'm just going to choose that I'm going to be interested in this.
Is that a copium thing, do you think, or is it just because you're really interested in constructors standings?
I like tight finishes, and I'd be. Last year it was the battle between who was the battle between in
McLaren and
construct
Ferrari.
McLaren and Ferrari. Yeah, I thought that was
Yeah,
kind of fun.
I did not care one bit about that, if I'm totally
Yeah,
honest. But
yeah.
I'll just pretend, for your sake.
You pretend.
Happy to do that. Oh, speaking of constructors and pretending that it's interesting, the gap between McLaren and Ferrari is 357 points, and Ferrari are on 356. So they've scored just under 50% of McLaren's points for the season.
Yeah, it's nuts, isn't it?
It's crazy. And earlier in the season, when I was looking at McLaren, before they had their mid-season wobble or post-summer break wobble, McLaren were looking like it was possible for them to be the first team in F1 history to break 1,000 points in a single season. They're
Wow.
not going to do it anymore, but
Yeah.
there was a time when their trajectory was looking like it could get them up to the 1,000 mark. Yeah, but not to be. Let's wrap it up. I think we've got ourselves one hell of a season with 4 rounds remaining, and the next in Interlagos
Yeah.
at in Brazil. Is this not also a contender for one of the best tracks on the
Abs-
calendar?
Absolutely. I love it because it's anti-clockwise. I always just think
Mm,
that's like a fun thing about it. I don't know why. It just feels weird watching an anti-clockwise track. I don't know
agreed.
how many
Yep.
there are. Um, it
Kota is one of them. We had that
Cota's.
last round.
Oh gosh, yeah, it is.
Hmm.
Um, I think it's going to be a very interesting qualifying track because it's all about um, threading the corners perfectly. It's a little bit like it's nothing like um, it's not nothing like the British Grand Prix, but Silverstone. But there is something about if you don't get the momentum right in the cornering, and actually out of turn one, if you don't get it right, nail it, you lose that benefit all the way through, or for the rest of the lap. So I think it's really interesting. Like it's very hard on the drivers. It's one of the hardest tracks on the neck, on the body, on the kind of on the G-force on the neck. So I think it's a brutal track, and I think brutal tracks are great because they, when you're feeling the strain on your body to that degree, you're testing a whole nother bit of the driver's toolkit and skill set and endurance. So I think it's like and there's also loads of opportunity for drama into turn one. So lots of fireworks, I reckon. How do you feel about it?
I echo your thoughts. I also really like really basic things. Like I like the color scheme that they've got for the curbs. I just think it looks
It looks
really
sick.
iconic. You know that you're looking at, just like with the Italian tracks, how they have the Italian flag colors on their curbs,
Yeah.
and the same is true in Circuit of the Americas. There's something about that that just tells you you are here in Brazil. So I love that. I think that's really beautiful. I also like that there's this great elevation change. The pit straight is quite a bit higher than turn 7 or turn 9 as they're
Yeah.
sort of going through the Ferraduro section in sector 2. So I like that kind of I guess what you're seeing is I like tracks with elevation change. I also like the driving challenge
Who
because,
doesn't like a roller
well, you
coaster?
seem to have a
I
soft spot for Silverstone.
love. Oh, I do. Yeah, I love Silverstone. I just think it's one of the most iconic tracks in the
Could you
world. But
imagine Silverstone with some
with
elevation
elevation,
change?
oh
Ooh.
no, I love elevation.
In the 90s, they had that bridge section where you dip down and come through
Did
underneath
they? I
a
didn't know
bridge.
that.
Yeah, mid 90s.
Anyway, sorry, I interrupted. You were saying that
Interlagos.
they've got the
Ah,
elevation.
I love it. And there's an amazing section coming between the Senna S's and turn 4 where they open the DRS going around a corner. There actually aren't that many tracks
That
on
do
the
that.
calendar
Yeah.
where you open DRS whilst cornering. And if you've ever done that in a sim or in the F1 game, you lose grip at the rear tires. So it's really easy to spin around. So it's actually quite impressive to see the drivers, especially when they're going wheel to wheel around that turn with the DRS open. Yeah, really exciting. I can't wait for the race. Also, that drag up to turn one from the last turn is often, that's a good spot to try and overtake and then drag up to turn one. And there's almost like not a straight section of tarmac pretty much throughout the whole lap.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And apparently, Gabby Bortoleto was born on the track. No, I'm just kidding. He was born really close by.
Okay.
He is from Sao Paulo. So the atmosphere is going to be electric. I can't wait. It's going to be so good.
And do we get kind of a view of the favelas? Am I right in remembering that? You kind of, if the helicopter goes up, you can kind of see the favelas in the background, and then you can see people sipping champagne from the balcony in the foreground. And so we get a real rich poor divide, which I really like as a kind of a maxi capitalist. I like to see the world very much divided in that way. So very excited to see that. The other thing to say about the track, that was a joke, by the way, just in case anyone thinks I'm a horrible human being. I actually find it quite confronting to see favelas in the background. I think what is also something to really take note of is this is a top-notch evolution track. So what you're going to be watching for when you're watching qualifying is people desperate to get out towards the end of qualifying sessions, because this track, my friends, ramps up.
Except if there's rain.
And then it's back to square one.
And that's what happened last year, if you recall. They actually had stadium sections that were being blown over. So it's one of those. I totally agree. It's a track that ramps up, but the environmental conditions can undo all your great plans. So, I think we've got ourselves one hell of a end to the season, and the next round in Interlagos is definitely must-watch TV. So I can't wait. I'm locked in. I'm ready to go right now.
Obrigado, Jason.
Work out what fresh rubber is in Portuguese.
Portuguese, yeah. I was going to say adios, but you can't say that because that's not Spanish. It's Portuguese. See you in Brazil, my friend.
Ciao.
Ciao.